This is just a real quick video on basically the card game that I made to power scale the book universe that I'm making, Nickelodeon's universe. So basically, my opinion is really any book or media that I usually watch or read or listen to, I always feel like its power scaling can be a little off. Great examples is like, okay, this character can beat this character, and then he can't beat this character at all. This character beats him easily, but then he beats the other character that this character struggles to beat. Just doesn't make sense. So what I did was I'm gonna power scale if I'm gonna make a book, a story, and the easiest way for me to do that is basically a card game, right? So then it could be like, oh, this character can't beat this character, so I can't write in the book that this character beats this character. But if I have both these characters together, their stats outnumber this other stat, and then the closer the stats are, the harder I can make the fight. And then if I want this character, even if its stats are lower, to beat this other character, I know I have to add certain things or play in a certain way to make it so it works out in the book and it doesn't seem too bad power scaling. So I'll just explain the rules for the game. And by the way, the game has different rules for different types, but this is just the general rules for the entire game, regardless of the types. Just know that the number one thing that changes is, depending on the type, the player will be different, and the secondary deck will be different, and the way you use their abilities and stuff. But the basic rules don't change. So the basic rules are, to win the game, you got to defeat all the characters, all your opponent or enemies' characters, right? Which is real simple because, as you'll find out, I'll explain it. It's if you play wrong, you can lose really easily, really quick. So the way it is it's a move-based card game. First thing you do is you start off the game. Oh, let me explain how you win first. There's 3 ways to win. One is your opponent quits. They're like, I give up, and you win. 2 is, like I said, you defeat all your opponent's characters, and that's how you win. Finally, the last way is you just don't have any ways for you draw all your cards and you don't have any way to play. Which is probably the hardest way, and it'd have to be really exceptions stacked onto exceptions, because usually you'll always have a way to play even if you draw all your cards. So like the last one is soft lock. So the way it works is you start off with 10 moves, and you can draw from either of these decks, right? You have the secondary deck and the character deck or player deck. The player deck obviously has characters, and then the secondary deck obviously has something based off. Depending on the type, it will either have for magic type spells, for secondaries, it will have antiques, for unique types, it will have masteries, and then for all rounders, it will have all 3, depending on the characters. But all 3 secondary decks. So all rounders really have like 3 other secondaries put into one secondary deck right here. And of course, you shuffle all players and you shuffle all secondaries, but you still will have 2 decks. And then when, let's say, a character dies, they'll go into the player discard, or if you use a secondary card, it will go into the secondary discard. And the reason why you have to separate these is some cards will have it where you can draw back from the discard, and you can't really have the players and secondary mixed up, because it'll be like secondary deck or draw from player deck. So yeah. And now what this is for is, if you keep hearing me say moves, it's because each turn will have a certain amount of moves, and there's only 2 ways or 3 ways, I guess, to end your turn. One is to say it's your opponent's turn, even if you have a lot of moves left. Another is to use all your moves, and the last is to play a character card. If you play a character card, regardless of how many moves you have left, it's immediately your opponent's turn. And now how it starts is you start off with 10 moves, and then your opponent starts off with 10 moves. Whoever the first player is, they go first. They have all 10 moves. Then your opponent has all 10 moves, and you have to go through 3 rounds. So on the 4th round, you can attack. So the first 3 rounds are just passive rounds. Now, real quick, the point of all these moves and players, and I keep saying this, is to draw is a move, regardless, player or secondary, to draw is a move. To use a card, for example, a secondary deck card is a move. To play a player, like just place him down, is a move. To use a player, either attack or ability or whatever, is a move. And that's really all it is. Those are all the moves. Now, let's see. You can start off, since you start off 10 cards, you can draw, 9 in the secondary deck and then 1 of the players, or whatever, but that's all 10 moves. And at the start is the only time you start off with free moves. And now what I mean by free moves is for every player you have in this 3x3 area is a move. So at max, except for the start of the game, you can only have 9 moves. So realistically, how the beginning of the game would start is like, let's say you draw 5 players and then draw 5 secondaries, second deck cards. You'll maybe place down, or I guess you'd have to draw let's say 5 players and 4 from the secondary deck, and then you play 1 character, right? The next round you have 1 move, so then you play another character. The next round you'll have 2 moves, so then maybe you play another character and you'll have 3, and so on and so forth, right? Now let's see, this is the play area for the secondary deck. So of course, if I'm using an antique, I put it here, and then antique, or mostly what this area is going to be used for is actually the spells for the magic types, because antiques pretty much immediately go to the secondary deck. You don't really need to show someone, because it's just like, I use this much energy to put in my character. Mastery is sort of pretty much the same thing. Spells are really the only one that may stay in this area for too long, depending on if it's a spell that lasts for a long time. Of course, you have enemies up here, and the whole reason why you have it set up like this is, well, to take down a player, you got to kill it, destroy all of its health points and stuff like that. But if I have, let's say, all 9 set like this, you have to defeat 1 to go to the second line. You have to defeat the first line to go to the second line. If you want to get to this one, you got to defeat this one to go here. This one, you have to defeat this to go here, and so on and so forth. Of course, depending on the types, like R types can just sort of skip this and attack whatever player at once. And secondaries, they can jump 1 and attack this one. If you don't have any right here, then this is your first line of defense, and obviously, so on and so forth. Let's see. As you can tell, I'm sort of just doing this as quick as possible right off the dome. Trying to explain the rules. Let's see. Let's see. I guess, yeah, depending on the players and how many you have is how many moves. I think that's really about it. Yeah, pretty much. You defeat your enemy to win, whether it's them drawing or you just defeating all their characters, or the super rare situation where they draw all their cards and they can't make any moves. And really all the other rules and how to play are going to be on the character cards, or the second deck cards. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, be like, oh, you missed this, or what if this happens, you can always just put in the comments. But that was a lot quicker to explain than I thought. And obviously you don't have to say column 1, column 2, column 3, A, B, C. It's just a 3x3 is how you put in the cards. So your area, you got to have at least enough area to put down 3 on the top and then 3 in a row, and have a play area here, and then a draw deck and a discard deck. You can have as many cards as you want in your hand. You can play obviously you can play them from your hand, so you don't even really put them in the play area except for spells from the magic type. You can only have 9 characters down at a time because there's only 9 slots for characters. You can't play the same character, so even if I have duplicates, it wouldn't make sense. You can't place them down in a certain order. You have to shuffle it for the players in the secondary deck. And honestly, it's pretty simple. If you played things like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or Pokemon, you can sort of understand those certain rules, see where I based them off of. But yeah, that's pretty much it. there are more rules to the game, but it's all type dependent. Like magic types, uh, they have certain rules for their characters. Like they'll have a little spell right here, and then the name, and then their weapon and stuff. Secondaries will have their weapon and their abilities and attacks on the back of their thing. So, yeah, all of those will be explained in different videos, but this is just like the basic rules of how you play. It's turn based, and like, okay, we'll give an example. I'll draw 3 player cards, 6 from the secondary deck, and then play 1 player card. Now it's my opponent's turn. Let's say he does the same thing. Now I have 1 move, so I'll play another player card. Now it's my opponent's turn. And let's say he does not do the same thing. He attacks with his 1 player card onto my 1 player, or on one of my 2 player cards. Let's say he doesn't kill it, but it just lowers my character's health. Then I play another. Maybe I won't play another. Maybe I'll draw another card from my secondary deck, because I have 2 moves, and then play another, and then so on and so forth. That's about it. All right.